Hello once again, Star Wars and Unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing Show. Different angle today. I'm your host, Darth Tuba. I figured we had this angle where the tree was over here, and we had this center angle where you can see the shelf stuff. But today I said, you know what, let's mix it up a bit and have you facing this way. Here you can see some of my other items that don't always get on the channel. I'll give a little higher up viewpoint here. We got my little, if you look back on some old videos, I got my custom diorama that I built there. We got some of the Max Rebo band plush, probably the only plush I'm keeping these days. A few masks. Got my little V guy visitor here that finds an honorable place in the Star Wars collection, along with a couple of odds and ends. The freeze chamber playset that came out recently, a styrofoam head that once held a mask. But that is where we are. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. That door, by the way, leads to my boiler room, which is also another part of the Star Wars collection, which is something we're going to talk about in a future episode, because I'm in the process of, we're at that point. I had that first warm day, and that first warm day of the year means spring cleaning, which means getting set up for the Star Wars yard sale. I've done a lot of that already, and I'm going to share that with you in a future video. But because we're months away from the Star Wars yard sale, but I just take the time when I have it to prep for it. So that's kind of what I've been doing. But I also want to take, because now I have found myself with an abundance of more space in certain areas, little nooks and crannies. Like not all one. It's not like I have one big room I can fill, but I have a lot of space where I can find some new items, or just maybe rearrange how the items are going to go. Now, just because I'm cleaning out, it doesn't mean that I'm not still acquiring, and that's exactly what this box is. In fact, this is a little bit special, because this is one of, if you recall back, there was a huge box. If you look back on a few months ago, there was this gigantic box, actually a few months ago, probably closer to a year. A very giant box, and it was filled with some vintage figures, carded, like the ones up here behind my little Ewok there, baby Ewok. Okay, we have General Madine, we have the AT-ST driver, we have the Rancor Keeper, and a few others. And they arrived in beautiful condition. I also had another auction, probably a little bit less recent than that, where it was a whole collection of Power of the Force area stuff. It was not a very expensive auction, and there were only a handful of things that I didn't already have. But I wanted to get those certain things, so I had to buy the lot. So a lot of those things ended up in a sell box for the future. So now I have this box, which is from a recent auction, and the auction was a lot of vintage stuff, a lot of vintage carded figures, a lot of vintage loose figures. In fact, they were actually selling off like large lots of, like, say, 10, 12, 15, 20 figures, some of them complete with all their weaponry and everything else, and people were paying a hefty price for them. It's pretty interesting how the vintage line of collecting, meaning I'm talking true vintage, 70s and 80s, has really just continues to go up and up and up, and whether it's carded or loose, which is amazing to me. But I think that a lot of it just has to do with the fact that the older people get, that were kids when those movies came out, the more discretionary income they have and they can do more with, and I think the more sentimental attachment that they have to that. And this box is kind of part of that. It's some loose vintage items that some I have. Again, I went for the whole lot, and there was one or two things, actually a couple of things on here that aren't really figures, or toys, they're other things. But I'm excited to open this up. This is a company called Bodnar Auctions. They do a lot of local auctions, and they're pretty good. If I were you, I would look into, and what's great about auctions is that if you don't mind paying shipping, auctions can be anywhere. But if I really wanted to, this ironically is only about 45 minutes from my house, so I could have driven to the place and picked up the auction items myself and saved on shipping, had I wanted to do that. As it stands, I wasn't able to, so the shipping was good because they do a really nice job shipping. They just pack things up beautifully. It's really, really well done. You pay a little extra for it, but it's really, really done, but really well done. But if you look around, we've been so brought up, anybody in the last 20 years, it's all been about eBay. Or actually 30 years now. Can you believe this? Oh my God, 94. 30 years almost eBay's been around. Or it's probably been around for 30 years, but it really hasn't really been in the cultural zeitgeist for until about 95, 96. And eBay was our auction go of choice, which was great. I mean, it is very cool, and it's gotten itself into this massive company that, you know, you can do everything from buying, you know, they have eBay Motors, and you can do all these really cool things. And it is still a great resource to try to, you know, fill the holes in. I just did a video, I think the last video or the next video that's going to go out, next video or two, that will be going out at the time I record this, was actually a video where I talk about the, you know, use of eBay to actually find, you know, figures to fill the vintage collection figures. But that's not just for Star Wars, it's for every property, everything. Everything is available there. It's become massive, and it's really cool. But there are still other places, more traditional auction houses that are running out people's estates. And I guess this is the sad truth that happens when it comes to collections. As I am thinning out my collection, many people have to thin out their collection. Some people have to do it out of necessity because they need to, you know, they need to get liquid cash fast. And the auction house is a great way to do it. They take a cut. They take a big cut. But they will take care of everything. They'll collect it all. They'll research it. They'll put it into lots. They'll put it out there for you. And at the end, they basically just write you a check. And it's a great way to kind of unload a thing. If you are someone with a large collection and you don't know what to do, this is a great, like, you know, end of life kind of thing. Oops, I have something weird there. End of life kind of planning. Like, what do you do when you die, you know, and what happens to your collection? That is a great way to, you know, plan, you know, have your loved ones plan. Just have them reach out to an auction house and have them take care of it all. So, of course, it also is sad because, you know, some of these collectors are just collectors, you know, because if you were in your 20s when Star Wars came out, then, you know, you're now in your 70s, and, you know, people get sick and pass away, and, you know, life ends, and then the people might have had a whole collection of stuff that needs to go out. So estate auctions are a big thing. So, but it is a great way to find some items. So enough talk. Let's get into it. All right. So I know that a lot of people just kind of do quick cuts and try to, you know, speed this up. But me, I like to drag it out a little bit. I like to talk while I do it. You know, just talk about the different things. And what's cool is that, you know how the internet is, and Google is, and Facebook, and all these other social media, and they kind of keep track of things that you have been looking for. So all of a sudden, there have been new auctions that have come my way. So I've already bid on other items. And when I say bid, I'm not talking about, you know, huge, you know, tens of thousands of dollars bids. I'm talking about $20, $30, $40 bids. I mean, nothing too extravagant, you know. So, okay. So this is packed very nicely. I'm going to just get some of my paper and stuff out of the way. All right. So, first item out. Okay. This is the Star Wars Micro Machines Death Star. This is not a vintage item. This is, in fact, a Galoob Micro Machines. What year is this? Is it pre-Episode 1? 1993. Oh, way pre. 1993. Holy cow. I didn't realize they went back that far. So, these are really cool. These are, what they basically are, were play sets that were, you know, obviously, you know, you can tell by the figures here. They were not even an inch. They were about 3/4 of an inch little statuettes, right? And, you know, they would give you a little play set that would look like something like the Death Star, for example. And then the top would come off, and you can see here that there would be a, just a little playable feature, right? Now, the interesting thing about Micro Machines is that they're the follow-up, in my opinion, to about 10 years earlier when Kenner produced the Micro series of metal figures, which I still love. I have them all kind of on display in the same little area, and that's, I absolutely, they weren't like under an inch. They were about an inch to an inch and a half to 2 inches, maybe not quite 2 inches, but 1 3/4. So they're about this big. They were metal, and, you know, they were static. They didn't have any, you know, articulation or anything, but they were just big enough that they were easy, and they were heavy, so it was just hard to lose them. and the play sets were just a little bit more, just big enough that you could do really cool things with them, and they were fantastic. And I think the only reason that they didn't take off, I mean, they made them, I think they came out in 82, and they had some for in 82, and I think some more in 83. They didn't continue them for Return of the Jedi. And the only reason they didn't was because I think a lot of families were like, we've been spending all this money to fill up our kids' collections of 3 3/4 inch figures with playsets and vehicles, and now you have a whole other line. We ain't doing it. So that's kind of why. So I think it was just not quite released at the right time. That would have been an awesome thing to release, I think, during the dark times. You know, when the 3 3/4 had run its course, try running those and see what happened. But that's kind of what happened. And in the dark times, 93, definitely one of the dark times. It was before Hasbro started re-releasing and making 3 3/4 inch figures. Micro Machines got on board, and they started doing these kind of things. And again, it was great. I mean, they had a whole bunch of different play sets you could get. And then, of course, when episode 1 came out, they had a whole bunch more. They did other different types of things. They had some bigger play sets. They had heads and masks that were like almost Transformers that they would fold out into stuff. These are great. This is one of those extra things that I got for it. I'm not really that interested in that. Okay. What do we have here? Okay, we have another item here. My big reason I have it is right here, but I'm saving that for last. So, I'm not showing that yet. Okay, what do we have here? Okay, they do such a nice job. They wrap everything in nice bubble wrap. And, just want to make sure that I don't cut anything when I do this. Oh, I know what this is. Again, not something that I need. In fact, the minute you see this, you're going to be like, why does he have that? Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you? It's a hand puppet. Boop, 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 boop. It's the Yoda hand puppet. Came out in 1981, I think. 80, 81, 82. I don't know if the year is on here. This was, again, not part of what I wanted. It was just extra. And I laughed because if you look back here, here's one. Let's compare the two. This is mine, my original. Okay? So there he goes. And this is the one I just purchased. And when I look at them, while mine does seem to have a bit of a scuff mark on his left eyebrow, but hair is still in place. I think you look good. I think you look good too. Okay, so that's pretty cool. All right. Looking through them, though, I do think that this one looks a little better. So I think that that might mean that I'm going to put this guy out in the yard sale box. They came out at the same time, but this one has definitely been kept up a little bit better. Now, inside, oh, watch it, Grogu. Inside, we have a couple of things here. We have the, again, not what I really set out to get. This is the Han and Carbonite, Han and Carbonite. This is actually from the Slave 1 that came out in the 80s from Empire Strikes Back. This included this little block of Harrison Ford as Han Solo, and it just was randomly put in with this lot. Maybe they didn't realize that. I don't know if they had Slave 1 as a separate lot. I don't know if they did. Maybe this was just something that was loose, but there it is. So again, I will put it out for the sale part. We also included what looks as though we have a Luke Skywalker. This is newer collection, Power of the Force 2. Looks like what he is wearing for when it used to come with a speeder bike. So I don't know if the speeder bike is in here or not. I don't think it is. But there's Luke. This is okay. I'm gonna just take his little hoodie off here for a minute. And so I remember a lot of people have been talking about this, and this actually is so funny because here's Luke. Here he is without his little poncho, right? But he has his little helmet. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the helmet. I think the helmet's great. But it would have been nice if you could take the helmet off. And that's what a lot of collectors have been saying more recently. Why could you not take the helmet off? It makes no sense. It's silly. You get me? So, anyway, because he never looked like this. So why have it like that? Either leave this sculpted on fully. I mean, I do appreciate when you look at his outfit here Now, this is kind of the transitional Luke. This is like, if you recall, anybody who's a collector will recall that, that when they first started coming out with the figures again in the 90s, 95, 96, or maybe it was 94, 95, they made them very bulky, very, like they all looked like He-Man. They were all worked out, they all had muscles. And now here's them like starting to pull that back, you know, once the next series and the next series rolled around. So, but I do appreciate that this is the non-tunic wearing Luke, because once we get past the speeder bike chase, he does. I mean, you know, he's got the poncho on. He doesn't have any of his you know, tunic, black kind of fabric, you know, wool looking tunic that he wore during Jabba's palace. He doesn't have that. He lost it. You know, he got rid of it once he met up with the friends after Dagobah. So it's cool that he has this, but alas, you can't take his helmet off, so it makes no sense. So, oops, I just put it on backwards. So this will go in the sell pile as well. I don't think I'm going to get much for it, but you know, put it out there for whatever. Okay. Looks like just a second here, folks. I'm just kind of looking at something here. Did I? Yeah, okay. No, it's fine. I mean, okay. All right, two things. This is what the next two things are. What I was going after. I wonder if some people know what this is. This was something I saw and I went, oh yes, please. You want to talk about a nostalgic trip for us collectors. Sometimes it's not about the toys. Sometimes it's about other things, you know. It's about things like when the one time in the, I gotta be very careful with this that it doesn't get stuck on the one time Star Wars brand in the United States delved into the cereal market. C-3POs, part of a nutritious breakfast with juice, toast, and milk. C-3POs was a cereal that came out, I believe it was 1984. Yes, it was 1984. Just got the date here. And C-3POs was a one-off thing. It came out for 1 year, and it was right, you know, as Star Wars was kind of just passing the, you know, it was great for us young lovers of Star Wars. You know, the movie just ended. It, you know, Return of the Jedi came out a year earlier. The toys were still in the stores. Everything was still hot, but there was a kind of like an afterglow because we knew there would be no more movies for God knows how long, but we knew there would be not any coming. So we knew that there was a part of us young, you know, under puberty age kids were realizing that, oh no, you know, everything's weird, it's different. They had a Saturday morning cartoon, they had the Ewok movies, but they weren't giving us the same thing. But the C-3POs was just a cool thing to see. These days, the cereals come out when the movie comes out, you know. But they didn't have any toys. They didn't have any promotions, you know, no mail-away figures, nothing like that. But they did have the free Star Wars mask. There it is. And this was a very popular thing in the 60s and 70s. These paper masks, you poke little eye holes, you cut them out, and then you put a little string behind it or a rubber band, and then you can walk around and you could be a stormtrooper. Oh my God, these are so great. They look like little eights, like they were like two Cheerios kind of fused together, so they were little eights. And this is fantastic. So I'm not going to do anything with these. Some people like to find unopened boxes of C-3POs so they can eat it. You can go on YouTube and find tons of that. I'm not doing that. I am not eating what is now going to be 41-year-old, no, I guess 40-year-old cereal. Ain't happening. Not doing it on YouTube. I don't care how many views I get. So, not doing it. I'm not going to get sick from anything like that. However, I do love the box. So, I think I might take one box and I might actually like open, you know, fold it back up, kind of tape it together with like a light Scotch tape and create one box that I can put on display, you know, maybe behind the studio here. All right, but this one came with a Stormtrooper. Oh, but I didn't just get one. No. I got several. There's Luke Skywalker. Although I think it would have been weird when you poked his holes and cut his nose. But that kind of would have been a little scary. And of course we also have Darth Vader, the Lord of the Sith. All right, all the same boxes up in the front. Oh, more. Wow. There's Yoda. Of course, Yoda was so wide that they had to diagonally cut him. Good. 2 more. Oh, actually more than 2 more, but I don't know. Oh, it looks like this one doesn't even have the. Oh, I think this one. Oh, free inside 2 stickers. Okay. I don't believe they came with the stickers, so. These are pretty. This is definitely one of them that I will make into that because I believe this one's probably. Oh no, there's Chewie. So we got 5 masks and 1 without the masks. So there you go. And then apparently, and another thing that I didn't really want, Shreddies, which had a Star Trek: The Next Generation offer, Space Glow stickers. Actually, I won't lie, I am a Trekkie. I do like Star Trek. In fact, I credit The Next Generation with keeping my love of sci-fi going in those dark times. Because once we got to 87, Star Wars was done. There were no more movies. There were no Saturday morning cartoons. They had stopped the comics. They had nothing. From 87 to 91, the only thing that you could get is those those Bendham figures until Heir to the Empire came out as a novel. That's it. Nothing. So Star Trek, The Next Generation came out in 87. Good timing. So I don't really feel that I need this. So I'm going to probably just put that out in the sell box. We'll see. Unless somebody wants this. It's a Shreddies. I've never heard of Shreddies. No. I wonder if this is UK. It's kind of hard to... or maybe it's Canada. Because there's a lot of mailing address stuff here for Canada. So I'm guessing it's a Canadian cereal. But all of that was just extra. Now, I really like the C-3PO boxes. Don't get me wrong. And I did bid to hope to get them just to kind of keep them as part of my ephemera collection of stuff. But no. The thing I truly wanted is right here. The Empire Strikes Back collector's case. Look at this in all of its glory. Empire Strikes Back collector's case. Now, I have the Star Wars collector's case. It has Star Wars, New Hope, well, it just says Star Wars on it, and it's got some beautiful imagery. But they did come out with an Empire one. They did come out with a Jedi one. But the Empire and the Jedi one were kind of overshadowed by the Darth Vader head collector case, a C-3PO collector case. There was like a rifle collector case. There was all these different types of collector cases, and I think they overshadowed just the plain regular ones. But this is, this is part of the vintage collection. This is a really cool thing. We got Yoda on there. We got Cloud City. We got some really cool, paint versions of Lando, Lobot, an Ugnaught, Leia. I don't think we ever saw Leia look quite like this. I mean, the head, yes, but not the... I think it looks like... I don't know if that's just like a pink tint on what she's wearing. You got 4 of the bounty hunters. You got the medical droid. You got Luke on the Tauntaun. You got an AT-AT driver or AT-AT. Just some cool, and then you see the turret blowing up. You even got the snow speeder spinning around. This is great imagery. Now, sadly, nothing on the back, nothing on the sides. It's decent condition. These things were made of like a vinyl that were just wrapped around cardboard essentially. So they tend to start to lose their luster really quick. But this one's in pretty good shape. It doesn't look like it has any cuts or tears. The snap still works. And on the inside, that's what I was checking. I thought there was one more thing on here, but I don't see it, so I'm guessing that might have been another one. But basically, they come with these really, you can hold 2, 3, 4, like 12, so 24 figures. And you can see they have some that are shorter, which was smart, Kenner, very smart. So you can put your Vader and your Chewie and your IG-88 in here. And then you could put your smaller, like R2 Jawa, Ugnaught in there. And then they had a nice, cool base. So you put it upside down, and it had all the little foot stands that you could stand your figures in, So, and of course, the foot stands for... Ooh. I think I just saw a spider web nest. That's yucky. Hopefully, I don't think there's anything in there, but okay. You put the little guy in here, right? And then they stand. And then you can kind of display all your figures like that. Now, of course, if you try to do that with the new figures, they decided that the new figures, oh, this one doesn't even have holes. Oh, thank you very much. But yeah, they decided that the new figure holes would be smaller. Why they didn't do that, why they didn't just make them so you can interact them, I don't know. But there you go. So that was a very successful auction. I'm really happy to have gotten it. There is a Return of the Jedi one. But here's the thing. This is where, eBay is a challenge because everybody's looking on eBay. eBay, everyone knows about, right? So eBay, if you try to find this, you would have had to spend a couple of $100, maybe $200, right? Or I think this entire auction came in at less than $100. So there's that. If you want to try to find the Return of the Jedi one, it seems now that's even going for like $400 or $500 on eBay. Now, I do occasionally keep looking, and one little hint about eBay, you always go into the advanced filter and check completed auctions. That's important, okay? Because completed auctions will tell you how much, or at least most of the time, they'll tell you how much something really is going for, okay? Something like this, maybe they list it, and they're asking $300-400, but when you see the completed auction, sometimes you'll see the number $300 or $400, but it's crossed out, because that's when they say they say get $300 or $400, $350 or best offer. Well, the buyer must have communicated with them and they were able to negotiate a lesser price. We don't know what that is, and in some cases, you do see the price, and the price can sometimes be much lower, like $125, $150, $155. So that's a good thing to look for. It's also a good thing to do when you're that's what I do when I look to sell my items. I look for what they're going completed on eBay, and just do that. Sorry, still fighting a cough. Sorry about that. So, really happy with the auction. Really happy, particularly with the C-3POs boxes and the Empire Strikes Back collector case. The rest of the items were great. I'm happy to have, I already had some of them, and they're probably going to end up in the sell boxes anyway. So, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the notification, do all the other jazz. Check out all the other content on Red 5 Network. Thank you, Red 5, for supporting the channel. We will see you in the next video. Until next time, may the Force, and as always, be with you.